Fall Fun Fact.
Did you know that the world's largest pumpkin weighed just over 2,000 pounds? Well, now you know.
It's draw time with Mr. Mayberry. Time to draw.
Hi, I'm Mr. Mayberry. Welcome to Draw Time with Mr. Mayberry, Falltime Edition. It's harvest week on fall time, so we're drawing things that have to do with the fall harvest. Today I'm going to show you how to draw a pumpkin. So let's get started. It's time to draw. Okay, I have my paper turned horizontal, and I'm just using a regular pencil to draw. And this pumpkin's going to be rather large. So I'm going to start off with a big, sort of a circle, a little bit wider than a circle, maybe not quite an oval, what I would call an oval. Just loosely and lightly you want to draw real big. Don't make it too dark. We're going to be erasing a large part of this, so just make sure you don't draw too dark. It's a lot easier to erase lines that are not dark. If they're lightly drawn, it's a lot easier to erase. Okay, and then up here at the top is where the stem or the vine has snapped off, the stem sticking out. So I'm going to make a curve right here that curves down and then back up like this. And then the bottom's going to kind of echo that just a little bit. There's going to be a little bit of a curve up towards the bottom. Okay, and to start with, I do want to start off with the stem. So I'm going to start up here at the top, and I'm going to make a line. The base of the stem is a little wider than the top. And this is, of course, where the pumpkin gets all of its nutrients, and as it's growing, it grows on the vine. And then as it breaks off, then you have a little stump that becomes part of the decorative look of the pumpkin. So I'm going to go ahead, now that I've got the base established, I'm going to slant and curve this line up and then over, something like that. And the end of the stump, or it's not a stump, end of the stem, where it's broken off, there's kind of a flat end here. I'm making this a little curved on top. There's straight slanted lines here, and then one at the base. And then from this corner here, I'm going to make a line that curves in and over and down right about here. And this one I'm drawing today, originally I looked at an actual pumpkin to draw this, so it's helpful to have something in front of you when you draw. If you have pumpkins for the fall at home, you might go ahead and look at one of those while you're drawing it. This outside edge here, I'm starting at the corner and I'm curving around. It's narrow and then it gets wider at the base, so it curves in here and then it'll curve out to where we originally sketched out where that would go. And in nature you don't see a lot of perfectly straight lines. There's a lot of curves and a lot of rough edges, but it's good to have something to look at when you're doing this and not just try to do it from memory. You can do it from memory, but it'll look more realistic if you have something to look at. Okay, so these lines are all where I want them to be, so I'm making them a little darker. And might add a little bit of shading. You could do, since this is kind of in different segments here, you may not make them all exactly the same value. You might make one segment a little darker than the other segments. Because that will show that the light's hitting it at different angles, and so it creates a shadow in some places and then highlights in others. Okay, so that's the stem. And then now I'm going to draw out these. The pumpkin itself is segmented, so I'm going to draw some lines here to show where the different segments are. I'm going to start here in the center and just kind of curve out and down, and then go the other direction, just a slight curve, then to the bottom. And pumpkins, of course, are different sizes. You have really huge pumpkins and you have some that are very tiny, so you can get quite a variety. But again, that's another reason why it's nice to have one in front of you, or a picture of one at least, that you can, photograph of one that you could look at. Okay, and then I'm going to make another curve here. So it curves around like that. Now we'll be redoing the tops and bottom of these. Right now I'm just interested in the way the lines curve around the contour of the outside edge of this pumpkin. By doing these curved lines, if you just made them straight, then it would look flat, but because we're curving them, it makes the pumpkin itself look more rounded. So therefore it looks more three-dimensional. Looks like it goes back into space and comes out at you. Okay, there's one there. And then one here. Goes around like that. And then of course the outside edge, which I'm changing the shape just a little. Not a lot, but just a little bit. Okay, and here at the bottom I made it curve in just a little before, so it doesn't go all the way down as low as the next segment does here. And then the last two lines over here for the segments, we're going to draw this one here. I'm going to make it get a little wider as it goes toward the bottom. Like that. And then again I'm going to change this top part too, but for now this outside edge will curve out around, and then it comes in not all the way at the bottom, but comes in just above where the bottom of this next segment is, like that. Okay, now we're going to look at the top here, and each of these segments, instead of just having a straight line across here, I'm going to make these into curves. I can go back. I want to be able to see a little bit where that's at, so I'm going to lightly erase so I don't get rid of all the line, but just most of it. Then I can still see a hint of where the line was across there. I'm going to start in the center, and I'm going to curve this segment here, and then add another curve right next to it. So each of these has a curve at the top, and the segments kind of look like they overlap just a little. Like that. So curve across the top, and then the next one, and then we'll make one start here and go out for the outside edge. Okay, I might as well go ahead and do the bottom. I'm going to start here again in the center. Same kind of thing, lightly erase this bottom edge so that we can reshape. And so I'm going to make a curve between these two. And in this case it just kind of maybe starts down a little lower and then curves up for the next segment. And the same here, it starts down not at all the way at the bottom, but starts down a little bit above the bottom, curves out, and goes up. Okay, on this side, same thing. This one will actually start pretty close to the bottom here and curves around like that, and then I come up from the bottom a little and make the next one curve like that. So it breaks it down into segments. It's one shape, but then it has all these separate sections all the way around. Okay, same on the top. I'm going to work on the outside and go in, so I'm going to start not all the way out to the edge of this circle that we drew. I'm going to lightly erase this so I can still see a little bit of curve there because I want to follow the curve, but it won't be right on the curve. Okay, I come in from the outside edge here just a little, and then this is going to curve up, over, and down just like that to the stem. Then a line beside it, same thing, and I just keep work my way around to the middle. Okay, and then I'm going to start on the outside here and do the same thing going the other direction. So I have a curve here at the top. I'm going to come down a little ways, make a curve up, over, and down to the stem. One next to that, same thing, till I run into the stem. Okay, so all these segments are kind of curving down. I don't know if I like this sticking up quite so much. I do want it to kind of keep the same outside curve here, so I'm going to lower that just a little bit. You can make adjustments so it looks right to you. I'm going to darken these segments again, the segment lines. Pumpkins, there are a lot of things in nature, flowers and such. If it looks exactly perfect, it's probably a fake one. If the realistic ones, the real ones, have imperfections. Okay, now I want to make it look like it's sitting somewhere, so I'm going to draw a horizon line, or in this case the edge of like a table back behind here, and I want to add a little bit of shading to it. Now you can use color if you'd rather use color. If you have it set up in front of you, you might set up a lamp or some kind of a light source so you can see where the shadow falls. Depending on which way the light's coming from, it's going to look a little different, one side to the other. I might even go ahead and I'm going to make the table just a little bit darker than the pumpkin, so it's not the exact same shade across there. A little different value, a little darker, so they don't look like they're the same exact surface. Okay, this left side to me looks a little off, so I'm going to reshape the outside edge just a little bit more. I'm going to start up here higher and curve out, and then around. So you might have to go back and rework things if you don't like the way they look. That's a good thing about erasers, is that you can, it helps you to redo and have another chance at your drawing. So as long as you didn't draw super dark, you should be able to change things if you don't like them. Go ahead and clean up your drawing, add color if you'd like, and that's our drawing for today, a pumpkin. Now you know how to draw a pumpkin. If you get the opportunity this fall, I hope you'll take the time to visit a pumpkin patch. That's all for now. Thank you for taking time to draw with me. I hope you'll come back again, and remember, if you want to be a good artist, do a little drawing every day.
That's beautiful.
Over 2,000 pounds. Now that's a great pumpkin.